Hi folks, and welcome back to Fishing with Den. So last time we talked about these new feeders. These are what I call Flavour Feeders, and they're actually called Flavour Feeders because that's what they do. If you didn't see the last video, I'll put a link up above now so you can actually see what I'm talking about. But just for those of you that want to carry on with this video, just see what I am talking about quickly, this is it. I'll get a bit closer. This is a Flavour Feeder. Basically, small feeder, bit of foam inside, and all it does is feed flavours. So you get your favourite goo or glug or whatever, you put it in there and you cast it out with some bait on. And you don't feed anything else at all. Now, I have actually tried this for an hour last time I came down here, about a week ago. But of course, it's winter now. Although I'm sitting here with my jumper on, I've got a t-shirt and a vest underneath this. The last few days it's been frosty. Last night was warmer, but it's also had rain, so we're pretty wet all around here. I haven't cast it in yet. What I'm going to do is I've attached one of these feeders to a normal sort of a feeder setup. I'll just show you that now. It's a running feeder, and you've got the normal twizzled boom that you've seen me make many times before. Again, I'll put a link up so you can see twizzled booms to a hook length. I think that's 018. The hook is a KKMB, which is the Preston medium sort of wire hook. It's a size 16, and I've got a hair rig on it. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So what I'll do, I'll put some bait on. I'm just going to use a single piece of sweet corn to start with. Onto the hair. And once we've got that on, I'll show you how I load this. Oops, come back. This one's 18 grams, if I didn't mention it before. And I did cast it in because all I've done is I've chucked to 18 turns, clipped up, and that's where I'm going to. Because this place is pretty much flat. So it's going to be about 3.5 feet deep out there. A little bit of water still in it, so I'm going to get rid of that. And you get your glug, and you just put it on the top. Now, it can be a bit messy, this, and last time I did it with my fingers and just pushed it all in, but it just occurred to me, I made myself this little pusher stick, which I've never used properly in fishing, but the idea is just to tamp it in like that, see if it works. And that's allowed the glug to go in, and I no longer have sticky fingers like I had last time. Even with washing them in, maybe I do. Okay, hang on a minute, bear with me. I thought I had my cloths out, but I don't. So this is what I used to do to get rid of that. And I'll get myself sorted in a minute. As I say, haven't actually started yet. And this method, as I pointed out at the start, is only really for use in the winter when the water temperature is really low, the fish are sluggish if they're moving at all, and you don't want to be putting bait in. Because if you put bait in, all that's going to happen is that they'll come along, they'll eat a bit of it, and then they'll disappear on you again. That's it. Right, okay, so wind's starting to get up a bit. Just 18 turns, easy chuck, plop it in. It's going to take literally a second to hit the bottom because it's 3 feet deep, and we'll see how we go with that. We'll just put this on to record so we can see what we're doing. And time now is, I came out late because it was cold, 10:49. Can't show you that on there, but that's what it is. Okay, I'll just finish getting my cloths and things sorted out. Oh, here it is. And we'll see how long it takes us to get a bite. It's been in a few minutes. I'm not really expecting a bite for a while, but you never know. We had that slightly milder night last night, although we've had the rain overnight. But let's talk just a little bit more about what happens in the winter. So of course, fish are cold-blooded, and what that means is that as the water temperature goes down, they move less, the water goes clearer, and they literally eat a lot less. In fact, as I mentioned a minute ago, sometimes if you put any feed in at all, that can kill the swim stone dead, which is why the bomb is actually quite a good bet. Just literally a ledger weight, whatever way you want to use it, whether it's the square cube ones or the older RC bombs. But basically, if you've got an open expanse of water with no real features, they may well ball up in certain areas. And it may be that there's a slightly shallower area, and so the warmer's a fraction warmer there, and that may well be where they are. They may be down the edge. Sometimes I've seen that as well, but obviously if you create too much disturbance, they'll disappear right at the start. So they could be anywhere, and so what you would do is you'd cast a bomb around, maybe nick a fish from here and there. You might get a couple of fish, and you may not feed anything at all day. On the other hand, if it's fractionally warmer, like it is just at the moment, you may well be able to put down, I don't know, a little bit of corn or pellets or something, but very small amount, excuse me, small amounts. You have to gauge it on the day. And so really what we're talking about here is not having a bag up day, hopefully. Well, you'd hope you would, but you probably aren't going to have a bag up day in winter. But if you can maximize the attraction by putting a scent in the water, then hopefully that'll bring the fish to you, because if they are willing to move because it's slightly warmer, then you may well be able to just create a bit of a feeding, not a frenzy, but some fish may well feed. And really that's what this is all about, just creating that smell in the water. They come along and they see your bait and they say, oh, there you go, I'll have that. Now, I didn't mention it, but of course there is another slight adaptation to this, which we'll come to later. We've already seen the foam in the top, but also there's a little gap in the bottom. So if I want to feed, I don't know, say some corn, which would be say 2 pieces of corn, maybe 3, maybe some micro pellets, maybe a bit of ground bait, I can get a tiny amount of feed in there exactly where I want it to be as well. And so I can mix and match between feeding literally nothing, just the flavour, or some sort of combination of the 3 or 4 of those things I just mentioned. And that's what we're here to find out today. As I think I mentioned at the start, I've tried this once last time I came down here for about probably an hour, and I did catch a few fish, but it was warmer then, so who knows. As I say though, not expecting bites immediately. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. We are about 8 minutes in, and I've just had the tiniest little movement on the tip. Not a bite, just the tiniest little movement. Oh, and I should also mention in here, there are some fish which go up to about £1 or so, maybe a bit bigger, that are very much like crucians. I'm told by the authorities around here that they aren't crucians, but they damn well look like them apart from the colour. And they bite like crucians too. When you're float fishing, you'll get a tiny little dink of a bite off them, and that's it. But they're great fun. And so got to watch the tip today just to see and read the tip to see what's happening. We're a minute or two later. I'm just getting these little plucks on it, but I'm not going to strike at them. I want the fish to become a little bit more confident. What I don't want to do is to strike at something and scare literally the living daylights out of everything that's out there. But it's encouraging that I've started to get bites already. I was going to have a cup of tea, but I may have to put a hold on that for a minute. Again, it's the little knocks have stopped now, but you never know, do you? May just pull round in a minute. Oh, well, I think tackle-wise, the rod is a Drennan Vertex 12-foot method feeder rod, which I just use for pretty much everything, including cage feeders and bombs and whatever. Great little rod. But what I have done, where normally in the summer I'd have a 3-ounce glass tip in it, I've got a 2-ounce glass tip because, as I said before, those little crucian-y type fish, they can give you little sort of pluck bites, and so I wanted to be able to see and have more sensitivity in the tip. Reel is the usual MAP Carptech 4000 FD. That's the one with the automatic clip system, so if I do get one that takes line, it'll peel out of the clip no problem. He said just making sure he put it in the clip right. While I've been talking, the tip hasn't moved at all, so I think what I might do is cast out again with a little bit more of the glug on it. See how we go. want to get a little bit of feed out there, and I reckon after 2 or 3 minutes it's probably all gone. Right, still got bait. So the plan is just push that down, get rid of the water in it, and then you create yourself a little gap and you can put your glug in. There we are. Glug, goo, whatever we're calling it these days. My little secret ingredient. So just push that in, just gently. It will soak it down. And there we go. A little bit messy, but hey, if you catch fish, that's good. Right. Okay, that's 10 past 11. So we've now been going for about 20 minutes. I've cast in 4 times altogether. I'm still getting an occasional knock, but I'm not really expecting anything for some time. I should mention, for those of you that watch the channel regularly, I'm fishing at Den's Pond. Still not trying to do all that much after the operation, so it's nice, easy fishing for me. But I should point out that in previous years, I've never really caught anything on the feeder in here. I've caught occasionally a single fish, and then the whole thing just goes dead. So it is a strange and unusual place. So if I can catch fish in here on a feeder, I'll be more than happy. Oh, guaranteed, isn't it? Pull round. Absolutely guaranteed. And for those of you that aren't in the know with that comment, if you have a cup of tea or you start pouring one out, you always get a bite. And there you go, that's my first bite of the day. Right, what have we got? It's only a small fish. You've got to laugh, haven't you? Come on. You're not big enough to cause me any issues particularly. So in you go. And let's see what we got. Well, he's not a huge fish, but oh, hook fell out. But there you go, look. That can't be bad, can it? First fish. I think this time I'm going to put 2 bits of cord on the hook. Onto the hair rather, just to see. Obviously I've just had the first bite, which is great, but just ring in the changes a little bit, see how we go. So just trip all that out again. See the little gap at the top? Get some glug in. Don't need a huge amount. And I'm keeping the little stumpy mechanism here just inside the sweet corn container with the water, so that it does sort of come off it. I don't want to have sticky things all over the place, but literally that's it. Look, maybe a little bit more. That's now taking it all into the sponge, and away we go again. Better get me tea now, eh? I just hope that it doesn't follow previous experiences of this place. Like I said before, you have one fish and then you don't get another one all day. So we shall see. For anyone that's interested in the water temperature, I did actually use the thermometer on it when I first arrived, and it's 10 degrees centigrade, obviously. And again, if you're not really into sort of those sorts of readings, generally I reckon that down to about 6 degrees, you're going to catch fish reasonably okay. Didn't I have a little knock then? 6 degrees, going to catch fish reasonably okay. Once it gets much below sort of that, then you're sort of really into really rock hard territory. So today isn't necessarily depths of winter where it's absolutely just about to freeze, but it's pretty damn cold. So I've had that fish, and I've literally just had 1 or 2 liners while I'm sitting here with my cup of tea. But that's something you can always look out for if you take a thermometer with you. 10 degrees isn't too bad. Got movements going on, just little tips. I'm gonna put my cup of tea down just in case. I think it might be on. Yeah. It was kind of a strange bite, that one, wasn't it? Again, not a big fish. They pull out pretty well, especially considering it's winter. Oh, okay, maybe a bit bigger than I first thought. I'll just adjust this clutch a little bit. Smallish hook, so don't want to be tearing through it. This will be a common probably. Yeah. Well, 2 bites, 2 fish, and as I said before, normally I get 1 fish and that's it. And I haven't fed anything at all, of course. So, I'll be on to something. Oh, it's a bit bigger than I first thought, actually. Probably £1.5 pound, I reckon. Hooked underneath the bottom lip. A nice fish, eh? Last time I tried it, as I say, I did it for about an hour. And because I was pushing it in with my finger, everything was all sticky. So if you're going to do it without one of these little push sticks or what, I don't know what we're going to call these, but a plunger, maybe a plunger is what we call it. If you're going to use it without something like that, then probably best to have a bowl next to you with water in, otherwise your hands are going to be completely sticky. Right, off we go again. Still haven't finished with tea. And that one was probably 5 minutes after I had that first one. Oh, that's sort of a slight tightening on the tip there. As I say, this one's only a 2 ounce tip, so it's a lot more sensitive than the 3 ounce. Yeah, see that? I think that's just about hittable. It didn't move much, did it? This is a bigger fish though. Well, it's pulling a bit harder, shall we say. All right. Like I said, never had more than 1 fish out of here on the tip before, on the feeder, before it dies, even in the summer. I don't know why. Very strange place in that respect. But this is actually number 3. So maybe I've got something here after all. You'll notice that there's nothing on the stick, the plunger stick. It's all been put into, sorry, it was put into the corn when I cast out last time with that sort of amount on it. And of course, a few minutes later, it's all gone. So it's all melting quite nicely, even in this temperature of water. I think if we get another one, what we'll do is we'll try a little bit of feed, as in a couple of bits of sweet corn and a little bit of pellet just to pack it in the bottom of the feeder, just to see. As I said before, all experimental. And you can still make a mess of it, even if you do that. But hey, if you don't make a mess of it, you don't know what you're doing wrong, do you? Oh, some sort of movement. Little plucks on it, but Tiny little plucks, in fact. That's, yeah. These bites are hardly anything, are they? I'm glad I've got that 2-ounce tip in. It's all bits of fluff on the surface at the moment. There we are. They're not big fish, are they? But tell you what, you can soon build a weight. This is probably about 6 pounds of fish I've had so far. Again, slightly smaller, probably 3/4 of a pound, but 6 pounds of fish. If this was a 6-hour match, you could be looking at 20, 30 pounds again, couldn't you? Who knew? This time, I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm just going to put 2 pieces of corn in the bottom of the feeder. Hopefully you can see this. And literally, you probably only get, can you see that? You probably only get 3 pieces of corn in there. And I don't have any other feeders around that are going to allow you to feed just 2 pieces of corn. These are some micro pellets which are pretty mushed up from being in my freezer. But that's that sealed in there. We've got rid of all the water out of the sponge before we did that, obviously. Bit of glug on the top. So this time we're going to go with the tiniest little amount of bait possible. Up to now, of course, we've only been fishing with Flavour, so it could kill it stone dead or not. But let's see, because we really don't know at this point. Right, so what time is it now? 11:43. We've been going for, what's that, about 55 minutes, I suppose. And you reckon the first hour is going to be slow. But having said that, of course, you can often find that in the first hour you get a couple of bites and then you literally, your swim goes dead. So all something we should be trying. Just on the subject of feeding, if I was to fish this with the pole or the waggler, in the winter obviously, then I'd probably only be feeding 2 or 3 pieces of corn or 2 or 3 pellets every time I feed, and I wouldn't be feeding very often at all. So by putting that little bit of feed in the base of the feeder, it's kind of emulating what I'd be doing if I was fishing either pole or waggler. GoPro start recording. That's a bite. Bit of a pull round compared to the normal ones, isn't it? Oh, is he on? Oh, he's come off. Maybe it was a liner. Oh well, we'll do the same again. Get some corn and pellets in the... Oh, that corn's still okay, so it probably was a liner. So as I say, I'll just squeeze the water out. 2 pieces of corn in the base of the feeder. Literally, you might get 3 in there. If you put any more in, I suspect they'd probably clog each other up. A little bit of, well, I say it's micro pellets, but it's actually a mush. It's more like a ground bait now. It's been in the fridge and the freezer and so on. It's probably a couple of weeks old, but I thought I'd bring it. Wind's getting stronger now. Right. So let's talk about the baited area. I say baited area, flavoured area, shall we say. And you might think, is that a movement? I'm not sure. You might think that if there's an undertow out there, which is the current going in one direction because of the wind, that it might just take all the flavour off and then you've lost all your fish. So I did take that into account. I did some tests by holding the feeder on the surface. And this glug that I've got, this goo, actually sinks down. So when it's on the bottom, it's going to spread out along the bottom and pretty much stay there. Yes, of course, it'll spread out somewhat, but it's not as though it's going to expand and disappear. Well, that's the hope anyway. And again, keep saying this, it's experimental. Won't really know until we've used it a few times, but I might try it on a match. Maybe this month or next month. There's only one a month, so I'll see how I go on that one. But I might do a little bit more testing before I go, obviously. It's only a club match, it's not as though it's a mega money. You probably just about make enough back if you win to to cover your petrol costs. GoPro, stop recording. Oh, don't do that. I literally just put it in and it's gone round, and I've had a slow period. I've had those couple of fish that have fallen off, so I've gone on to bread, literally, and it's gone round. And I think this one's somewhat bigger. Oh dear. I wasn't expecting that. This one's definitely somewhat bigger. As you'd expect in the winter, the fight isn't frantic like it can be in the summer, but pretty dogged nevertheless. Got all bits of fluff all over the end of my rod tip from the surface. Where are you, fish? Oh yeah. Alright, where are you? They're getting close. You never know though here. These fish in the summer always dart off at the sight of the net or the sight of the angler. And in the winter, it may be colder, but they still have a good go at it. He's fighting quite reasonably well, isn't he? Come on. Caught behind his dorsal again. I have those serrated dorsals here which tear your nets to pieces. Definitely fighting quite reasonably. Come on. Whoa! I think he saw me. Get out of there. Right, come on. Yeah, that's a better fish, isn't it? That's a much better fish. Well, pleased about that. Nearly made a mess of the filming though, didn't I? I'd say that was probably, just put that onto reverse, probably 4 or 5 pound or more. Let's have a quick look. I can't get my fingers around to unhook him. There we are. I'll just put this in the clip for a second so we don't lose it. As I say, he's not a huge fish, but that's probably a good 5 pound or so. You can get him around that way. Nice thick fish, look. That'll do me. Okay, I think we'll go back in on the bread. This is, it's 8mm punch, and I've just punched out 2 pieces of bread. Bit of a squeeze just to take some of the air out. Don't want them floating. I suppose I could have considered putting some goo on that as well, couldn't I? But hey, that stuff's so sticky and horrible. Clear that out. I will keep feeding the couple of bits of corn in there, because if there's fish around and they come across an odd bit of bait here and there, it shouldn't hurt, hopefully. As I say, I don't know of any feeder that's going to feed this small amount of bait. And if you made one that was that small that could just hold that amount of bait, the fish would probably eat the feeder, I reckon. Okay. So we had that sort of decent first hour with 4 fish, and I don't know quite where we're at actually. Let me just check. Yeah, 12:23, so we're an hour and a half in. So I had that bit of a period where I slowed down because I was losing them or striking them at the wrong time or whatever anyway, but I wasn't getting them, and then I've just had that one. So I reckon we're probably up to about £10 about now. And I think on the last club match, you know, the clip's come undone. On the last club match, it's about right anyway. On the last club match, I think £10 would have got me there or thereabouts. We will see. There's obviously fish down there. Does seem to have slowed down a bit though, so I've tried putting that bait in. I think from now on, for the next half an hour or so, I'm just going to put the flavour in. Forget putting corn and forget putting the pellets in. Let's just go with flavour, see if that makes any difference. And also, as I say, get some lunch. Starving. Oh, that looks like a bite. It's something. It ain't very big, whatever it is, but it's something. Oh, and it pulled off again. Could it be the hooks? I'm using the KKMB now, as I said, rather than the KKHB, but that's only a difference in wire, so I might just change my hook anyway, tangled, just in case it's slightly dull. In fact, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get some lunch, and I'll be back in a sec. Right, I've changed hooks, put some more bread on, get some of the old goo going in there. Ah, got it in my hand, didn't need that. Bit windy now, it's very blustery wind as well. So I'm not going to put any bait in the bottom, just going to feed for a while just as it is with the flavour. And I'm going to have, as I say, some lunch. Let's get this out there. Okay, will do. Pour myself a cup of tea and get some sustenance going on. Well, I say I'm going to get some lunch, but I literally put that down in the rest and trim the tip, and it went dunk. So now what? Tell you what, I'll start pouring tea and keep my eye on it and see what happens. Don't want the tea too hot, do we? But I'm hoping that by chopping and changing like this, I can decide whether the fish want to have a little bit of feed by the way of solid stuff, as in sweet corn and some pellets, or if they're just going to go with the flavour. Still, nice day, innit? Bit breezy, a little bit chilly, but that's all right. Better than being in the house. Oh, and for those of you that don't know, once my cup of tea's cooled down, these are my sandwiches. And I've probably had these since I was, about 5 years old when I first started to go fishing. Some of you will know this story anyway. So that's about 62 years, because I'm 67 now, 62 years of eating cheese and brown sauce sandwiches when you go fishing. Do you think it's a tradition? Come on, Den, pull your finger out. Let's get a bite. Oh, and that was a proper pull round, wasn't it? Oh, just taking me off the clip again. Well, that's better. Oh, I thought it'd come off for a second. That's way out there. He's on the surface. Wow. You'd almost think I knew what I was doing, wouldn't you? Well, the clutch isn't particularly loose. It's still taking a little bit here and there. I'm on that new hook. Trouble is, after you've lost a few, you're never quite sure. Look at this. Wow. What on earth have we got here? Well, if I get this one in, it'll bump the weight up a bit, won't it? It's going all across the pond and Back across again. Now he's over there, look. He was over there a minute ago. Oh, he's under those ducks. Right, come on. I don't think he's massive, but got some fight, this guy, for the winter. There he goes again. I'm not going to rush him. Yeah, decent. I mean, they're not massive in here. They're probably only got up to 10 or 11 pound. They may go bigger, but since the floods, they do seem to have been smaller fish that have been replaced. Sorry, the bigger fish seem to have been replaced by the smaller ones. Makes some sense, Den. Right, come on. Oh, he's a good fish, isn't he? Although this is the KKMB, the medium wire hook, it's still plenty strong for what I want here. Oh yeah, that's a good fish. Let's get the old anti-reverse on. Ah. Oof, I reckon that's a good 8 pound or so. I'm not going to weigh him, but come on. Let's put that in the clip again. We'll have a look. Right. Well, that is perfectly reasonable, isn't he? Put him this way round for you. Look at that though. Big thick fish too. Alright, we'll only give him £7, but that would put me on £17 by now. So, come on Den, have your sandwiches and get some more. I'll definitely keep sticking with the bread. Bread's always a good bait in winter. And just stick with feeding the goo again. Not that I want the bites to slow down as such, but it would be nice if they gave me a minute or two to eat my sandwiches, because my tea's starting to go cold probably. But then you can't complain, then you're catching fish, aren't you? Loads of muck and rubbish around on the surface at the moment. GoPro, start recording. Okay. I had 2 bites of my sandwich, well 1.5 bites. So this time, excuse me, don't eat with your mouth full, so don't talk with your mouth full then. Right, so this time, I'm going to get this fish in. I'm not going to put any bait on, I'm just going to eat my sandwiches for a minute. It's not a, it's not a match, so I can do that. But that was literally in for, I don't know, enough time to get a sandwich out and have 2 bites. Back to the small ones again, but that's all right. So we reckon would that be, what, £18? Right, I'm going to clip up. I'm going to have my sandwiches. Back in a tick. Okay then, had me sandwiches. Let's get back out there. Certainly those last 2 fish came in quick succession, didn't they? It's been about a 5-minute gap while I had my sandwiches, but let's see if they're still there. Still drinking me tea. Time now is just come up for 1 o'clock, so that would be me fishing from 11 till 2 hours so far, and I've got about £18. And for me, that's not bad for the winter, especially in Den's Pond. especially on a feeder. It's unheard of on a feeder for me. Of course, you could say, well then, if you hadn't fed anything at all, you'd have caught just as much. Yeah, possibly, but I haven't done it in the past when I've tried it, so for me, this works. Undertow's pulling the tip around again, but still not too tight. Well, undertow and the reed on the surface there, look, that's not helping. And I've just had a couple of quick knocks. I think I'll just move that back a bit, it's a bit tight. And a couple of quick knocks. So there's obviously fish still in the swim. It's definitely some kind of indication, probably a liner. That wasn't a liner, was it? Not huge, but he's coming towards me. Wish this wind would make up its mind. One minute it's blowing in my face, then it's blowing from the side. And now I've got the sun coming round, so it's right in my eye line. It's caught round his dorsal, look. Still. We'll give it a pound. It's probably not quite, but we'll give it that for round figures, and that would put me on about 19, I think, at the moment, wouldn't it? Give or take, anyway. 19 pounds, that is. As I say, unfortunately, the sun's coming around. It's going to be right in my eye line fairly shortly, so we'll have to see how that goes. I don't need a long session here. I was really just trying to prove the concept. Certainly 2 hours in, I'm more than pleased. But of course, one short session on one pond, which doesn't get heavily fished, because pretty much I'm the only one that fishes it these days. It's not a definitive answer, is it? But hey, it's very encouraging. Oh. GoPro, start recording. It's got to be a bite. Oh, what's going on? Something wrong with the reel for a second there. Still, we've got him. Again, small one. Got some go though. Had that slack period after about an hour. Lost those couple of fish, changed to bread. I suppose it's like anything, you know, keep ringing the changes. But now, this last sort of 20 minutes, half an hour or so, we've had those 3 or 4 fish, and there's been some good ones. Yeah. Well, he's probably... Oops, I can't quite get grips to him. Come on, hold still. Probably over a pound. So we'll underestimate this one, overestimate the last one. I reckon we get £20 at the moment. Good. Trying to clean my battery off and the thing's going round. I dropped some brown sauce on my battery, so I literally cast it in, put the rod down, picked up the battery, and around it went again. Still not feeding any more pellets, corn, anything like that, just the goo. Probably one of the smallest ones I've had, but hey, Can't complain. Probably only about half a pound, this one. Caught in the net. Beautiful fish though, aren't they? Well, that wasn't so good, was it? Well, sorry about that, folks. That wind just got up and blew both tripods over. Obviously both cameras went base over apex with it, and so it's kind of cut things short. I've damaged part of the mount on this one, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack up now, but I'm thinking that the 2-hour session, for what it is, it's proven that this looks like being quite a good idea. Obviously I'm going to need some more testing, and of course that means I'm going to have to go out and do some more fishing, which is terrible really, isn't it? But anyway, joking aside, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, as always, give me a click on the like button. If you want to subscribe, feel free, and if you want to contribute, you can do that too. Doesn't have to be much, but it does help to keep the channel running. Anyway, thanks a lot, see you next time.